yeah.
All right, guys. So this past week, obviously, if you'll recall, about 7 days ago, we were all like, "Oh man, is 303 going down?" Meaning the main event, McGregor versus Chandler, because we started the show early because we were gonna go directly to a press conference that was going to take place in Dublin, Ireland. Of course, we had to lead the show off by saying that ain't happening. McGregor, I guess, canceled, right? So this past week, we tracked the updates regarding Conor McGregor versus Michael Chandler. And though nothing seems 100% definitive, it most certainly feels like the fight is more on than off. So here's what went on in the past 7 days. Conor McGregor released comments about the cancellation. You know, he obviously apologized, and oh, there we go. You can see right there. In consultation with the UFC, today's press conference was canceled due to a series of obstacles outside of our control. I apologize to my Irish fans and fans around the world for the inconvenience and appreciate your passion and support. I can't wait to put on the greatest show of all time in the octagon. So, you know, he addressed it. He didn't say it was off. He didn't say specifically he would put on the greatest show of all time on June 29th. So, you know, we were just kind of taking it as it goes. Then Michael Chandler says, he goes Martin Luther King on us. He says, the ultimate measure of a man is not where he stands in moments of comfort and convenience, but where he stands at times of challenge and controversy. Walk on, see you at the top. But he did hashtag 303. And folks, trust me here, as we're trying to put things together, we're not getting too many definitive clues, right? No hard yeses or hard no's. But then Chandler puts out this Instagram post. He says, if you're looking for me, I'll be out in Tennessee. No way out of the life we chose. Walk on, see you at the top. That one, I think, got us all nervous because he trains at Kill Cliff in South Florida, but he lives in Nashville, Tennessee. So someone canceling their camp 3 weeks out, that's a bit concerning, right? I think we're around Wednesday or so. And so we're all thinking, oh man, now what? I'll tell you what's next. Conor McGregor posts himself smiling. He's at what appears to be a medical facility. And, you know, he just kind of gives us an emoji of him flexing. But the smile kind of, I guess, makes us feel a little bit better. Let me stop right there and just fill in, guys. At that point, what were you guys thinking, and what are you thinking? You know, I'll get to the end, but what were you thinking at that point? Danny, did you have any thoughts at that point, whether this thing was more on or off?
Well, before that photo, I thought a lot of this had to do with contract negotiations. And I think that could still be the case, right? We know that he has 2 fights remaining on his contract. We know that he hasn't signed a new one, or for what he has informed us. And we know a star of that caliber is usually tied down with a big contract, right? So maybe seeing the $20 million gate, all these records, maybe there was some sort of contract disputes, whether they wanted to sign him longer or whether McGregor wanted a bigger piece of the pie. And they're like, okay, you don't want to play ball? Okay, I'm not showing up to tomorrow's press conference. How about that? But then when we see this photo of McGregor in this so-called medical facility where we see some, I think those are hip models right there, I believe. You know, not to get all scientist here and all, you know, let me put on my tinfoil hat on, but now I'm thinking injury. If something happened, again, I don't know if these are mind games for McGregor, but I don't think it's too far-fetched that, you know, he is 35 years old, coming off a huge injury. Something happened along training camp, and there's maybe been discussions of, should we postpone this? Should we not? Let's not address anything at the press conference. Let's just figure this out. I don't know if McGregor is going to go into UFC 303 100% healthy, if that fight's still even going on. But yes, that's kind of my line of thinking at that point in time.
We get to Friday, and then McGregor posts himself sparring. Now, again, we can put the tinfoil hat on and say, well, when's that from, right? We don't know, but he posted it. So it kind of gets us to think, well, I guess this fight may be on, maybe not. And guess what? On Saturday, the UFC puts out a promo for this fight, UFC 303. I think we have it handy, right? We can let's put it on because it's pretty slick, and it's pretty slick for one, but two, I think it settled us down a little bit.
Sorry, G, I don't have that promo. Sorry, buddy. I have a different promo. I have the Roku promo. Sorry, buddy.
Okay, that's my bad, everybody.
Oh,
And
Hey,
that's
but
our
we got an appearance from Cold Coffee.
that's
Yeah,
our
that
star
made it all worth
producer,
it.
Is good enough.
Cold
Shit.
Coffee, who travels all over the world, grinds like an MFer, a BMFer. And I'm glad you guys got to see him because he's the glue that keeps this show going. So anyway, a promo was put out on the fight card. I think a lot of us started to settle down at that point. And then Michael Chandler does the Pivot podcast. He says the fight is on, and he talks about the cancellation of the Dublin press conference, how that went down or whatever. But he says the fight is on. So now let's turn it over to Dan and goes. Dan, you go first. What are your feelings about all this, man? They are messing with our minds a little bit. And this is pretty serious stuff. We're going to do the job like we always do. But man, there's people that are traveling across the pond. There's people that have shelled out some money. You know, you do have a right to ask for your money back if this thing is on or off, but it's not easy to navigate off days for a lot of people and travel and things like that. But what are your thoughts on how all this is unfolding?
Yeah, I think my first thought actually was what Danny said. My head went to contract stuff, but what immediately, maybe it's my contrarian brain and everybody just ogling over like Conor, just like he touches a zipper and people pull out Dixie cups. Like it's insane the way they react to this guy. So part of me is like kind of just trying to steer away from that. But honestly, it seems like kind of silly. Like part of me is like, dude, is any of this even real? Like maybe he just missed a press. Guys, I don't know if we've heard of the Diaz brothers before, but like missing press conferences for big fights, this isn't anything new, and it doesn't necessarily mean the fight isn't going to happen. And the fact that like they're doing the cryptic things, I almost feel like they're leading into it because that's what it is now. It's all about engagement and messing with people, and a stupid fake Paul guy going, "Oh, I know the reason, but I'm not going to tell you guys." engagement. And it's also, if I could put my tinfoil hat on, shouts to what George said earlier, the fact that Dana and the UFC didn't come in and say anything, I get that fuels the conspiracy theory, but my conspiracy theory on that is the fact that like, again, back to this engagement, mystery promotion thing that works for the promotions too. And you could argue that this is actually helping them promote the card more than trying to get and having to pay and deal with Conor to do promotional tours, which is not as easy as it was before. Why not let this be like a bonus promotion? You don't have to burn any calories. And here's why it's a tinfoil hat and why it actually makes sense. It allows Dana to come back and dunk on the media. No, it was what's going on the whole time. You guys listen to the media. It was the scumbag media that led you wrong. And he's letting us walk right into that trap right now. We're walking right into that trap for him. It's going to go off without a hitch, and it's going to be the media's fault. Per Dana.
Dan, Tom, let me put my double tinfoil hat on though. That to me is a ridiculous theory that people are throwing out like, oh, this is great for marketing. This, I know we're talking about it now, but they had almost 10,000 tickets sold because it was a free event, but at least RSVP'd for that. That's 10,000 phones right on Conor McGregor, sound bites, the whole thing, Dublin, Ireland, something McGregor wanted. There had to be a reason. I don't think this is a huge marketing promotion. I think if anything, UFC 303 has been vastly underpromoted and badly needed that press conference.
We're gonna kick the ghost here, but I just gotta say one thing. You would be absolutely correct, Danny, if we weren't in this point where if the UFC actually still cared about their audience and still cared about their matchmaking, that would be the point. But guys, we're going back to live programming. It's like, no, we're at the Apex. And in fact, what we saw what the wrestling did with the Apex, they're not even doing anything there. But, he's worried about this one-off at the Sphere so he can dunk on us there. We make the fights fans want to see. Constant middleweight events and constant rematches nobody asked for. Rematches on the prelims at least once a week now. I've been calling for this trend since 2022. See, if they actually cared about the live events, but now they can make gold out of crap. Now they can go to some random market with a lower than Apex level card that we saw this last weekend, and they're gonna do their power slap number thing with it. This was the most engagement from a 45-year-old Cambodian midgets with only one leg. That's right. That's what we got, and they're gonna find some number or some angle to have the most of something. They'll be fine either way. I know it's a pay-per-view. I know it's Conor. But how much Conor have we had? How important has it really been for them to get Conor to the dance? How many times have we gotten Conor? The UFC doesn't care about that anymore, man. It's turnover. It's whatever fits the schedule. They'll take what they can get, and they improv and move with the punches now.
Chat room, let us know what you think. Is the fight on or off? We've given you a sequence of events. We've given you some info for you to chew on. I'm going to get to Goza's take in just a second, but Joseph Boza says, this is Conor. I won't believe anything till the door closes. It is starting to feel that way, Joseph. Phil says, Ali just came out today and said, very, very possible If Conor beats Chandler, he will fight Islam. Okay, I'm sorry, that's not really addressing the fight, but thank you, Phil. That's not bad. I'm not clowning. I just didn't read that properly before here. I want to keep with the theme here. Young Barrymore says, can't show up to a press conference with a noticeable injury. McGregor, very smart. Yeah, I mean, you could have put a curtain and he could have already been sitting, right? I guess you wouldn't have done the face off if he did have a noticeable limp. So I understand that as well. Goes, what do you think, man? You've kind of seen a lot of this stuff going on. We remember that. Remember at the Mandalay Bay when Diaz didn't show? We were already sitting there, and they had to rearrange that fight card as well. But what are your thoughts?
Well, I mean, look, I think a lot of people that are tuning into the show, they're MMA fans, but a lot of us are combat sports fans, right? And we're just coming off of the heels of what Ryan Garcia did, right? And so I think we're all just a little on edge with all this, all these jokes that possibly I'm doing this or whatever, I'm trolling that. So I don't know. I've gone back and forth. The thing that stood out for me that I've just always found odd is if you're the UFC, you want to shut this down ASAP. Like Danny said, like you want to sell tickets. There are people coming from other countries. It's International Fight Week. You want them to make their purchases. You want them to spend money. And I feel like you can just kind of put your foot on the brakes right there and just tell everyone, look, man, this fight's, it's happening. Buy your tickets, show up, do all your stuff, because that Irish contingent, for anybody who's ever been in a Conor McGregor fight week in Vegas, they take over, man. It is crazy. And you want that. You want that to kind of show off your sport a little bit with what's going on, especially when you consider how many cards we're kind of losing overseas. This is the fight capital of the world, and we want to represent in Las Vegas. So I've always thought it was kind of a little weird there. I know Dana said, look, Conor's the king of mind games, but look, man, play all the mind games you want. Have you not seen Michael Chandler for the last couple of years? Like, this dude's going to be prepared. He's not going to overlook them. Mind games aren't going to really work. Buckle down and just do the work, Conor. If you're hurt, you're hurt, but just do the work. I mean, you've already got something in your favor. It's at 170. That's good enough. Do the work, show up and fight. I hope we do get to see this fight. If we don't, it's so unfortunate, man, with everything that's played out. If I'm Michael Chandler, I think I just cash out and do something else at that point.
And Goes, to be clear, are you talking about Ryan Garcia and his antics about a month ago, or are you talking about Ryan Garcia this past week and thinking he's part of the U.S. Olympic hockey team trashing a hotel?
Oh my God. I guess that's kind of a badge of honor really in boxing, but yeah, that was pretty nuts too.
Yeah, I was wondering if you thought it was like antics or if McGregor was then going to pop and then get arrested after fight week.
That's true.
Instinct RT says, I don't want to fall for Garcia 2.0. He's on the same timeline here as or wavelength as Goes. Unbreakable, titanium, shinbone, says Josh Wallace. Phil says, if anything, this has hyped the fight up more. You could be right. I could see a documentary on just this alone. And yes, the media will get dunked on if Dana White has anything to do with it. Scott Christian says, it seems to me it is the UFC's responsibility to assure the fans that things run smoothly. You're right, bro, 100%. But what I've realized is the UFC is such a money-making machine that I feel like they kind of know the fans are just there and that they don't appreciate them like they used to. That's my personal opinion. Like truly the love affair I think that Dana had with the fans, it seems to have a little bit more of a distance in between them. Joseph Boza says, Josh Wallace loves Dan Tom's Dana impersonation. Joseph Boza says, you should see his Nate Diaz. He does a better one there. Joseph Boza says, did Conor make the UFC look stupid, though, for basically putting a press conference together on about 40 hours notice, sell 10,000 tickets? Dana flies over after 3:02, says at 12:30 a.m. day of no press conference. This is all very true, guys. Look, we gave you the timeline. Obviously, keep it locked on MMA Junkie. You'll know when we know when the fight's official. And I think we all agree it has to either come from McGregor or the UFC. Chandler can say what he wants. Much respect to that dude. We know him very well. But I think most people, their fears will be quelled when they hear it from those other two parties. And hopefully it's at the same time or something like that.